Hello there. Welcome back. Welcome to episode 12, lesson 9, Fierce Integrity, Course in Living Your Truth. Lesson 9 is more about lying. So this one looks at specifically the kind of lies that we tell. We've been looking at the integrity of our speech, looking for patterns in the lies we have told in the past and continue to tell. Once we have started to establish some of these patterns, they can be very illuminating in helping us identify the story in our head about the situation we are lying about. While it would be difficult to provide an exhaustive list of all the reasons why we lie, there are some general categories that emerged when I did my own work in this area. Here they are in no particular order. Number 1, lying to protect someone. It is my belief that generally speaking, human beings are quite kind-hearted and loving by nature. Actually, some people are so kind and gentle that they engage in lying behaviors repeatedly. In these types of lies, the person telling the lie is doing so in the hopes of protecting someone's feelings. When you lie to protect someone, your intention is to do no harm. This is a valid intention, but not a valid practice, because it helps to affirm to yourself the story in your head that you are a liar, and therefore you don't have integrity. Even with a positive intention, it still has the ability to chip away at the egg. I would like you to consider the fact that when you lie with the intention of protecting someone, you are basing this lie on assumptions that you have made. For example, a few months ago, a friend of mine opened a yoga studio and asked me to teach at her studio. I said that I would be interested in doing so, and at the time, I was. Later in the process, I found out that the studio is one that teaches the same routine each time, and this is something that does not appeal to me as a yoga teacher. While I knew that this did not resonate with me as a yoga teacher, I also didn't want to let my friend down. The time came for me to arrive at her training, and I did not really want to go but felt that I should. I thought about calling her and making up some excuse for not going, but this would certainly not be living my integrity. My husband, thankfully, pulled me out of the story in my head and said, "Why don't you just tell her the truth?" Ah, yes, the truth. Why didn't I just tell her the truth? So that is exactly what I did, and the response that I got was, "Thank you so much for your honesty." You see, I had assumed that I would let her down or hurt her feelings, but the reality is that she wanted instructors working for her who could share in her vision. By giving up my spot, it made room for someone better suited to her studio to come in and freed up my time to be available for classes that work for me. Another example is when someone asks you your opinion about something. You know the questions. Do I look good in this? What do you think about this new recipe? How does the couch look there? Etc. We get asked questions like this very often, and each time it has the potential to threaten our integrity, especially if we have a less than kind opinion of whatever they are asking us about. So, what to do? Go back to your intention of doing no harm. Can you be honest, but in a kind way? Is there a gentle way of conveying your true feelings? On a related note, sometimes we can be forthcoming with our opinions even though we weren't even asked for them. For this type of situation, I would remind you of the old adage, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Remember, there's a difference between speaking with integrity and radical honesty. Number 2, lying because of feelings of insecurity or inadequacy. I know this type of lie well because it is the type of lie that I have told the very most in my own life. One of the stories in my head has to do with the belief that I am not enough. Not good enough, not fast enough, not smart enough, not pretty enough. You get the picture. When I allow myself to be governed by these stories of inadequacy, I find myself lying to save face. For me, these feelings of not enough result in a perceived need to exaggerate or embellish my stories. I spoke about this last time. If I buy into the story that my story isn't good enough or exciting enough, then I find myself making it a better story, adding details that aren't entirely accurate in order to spice things up. I engage in a similar behavior when I'm not quite sure of something. My ego tends to feel humiliated if I don't know the answer to something, and I have found myself on more than one occasion responding to questions, even when I'm not sure about the accuracy of my statement. I talked about this last time too. As both a teacher and a parent, I believe that my child and students will respect me so much more if I say, I'm not sure. Let me get back to you on that one. Or even better, I'm not sure. Why don't we look that up together? I'm so grateful to live in a time where Google is a verb. Not only will this help to cultivate their respect for me, but it will affirm to them that I respect them. Number 3, lying because we have never taken the time to consider what we are saying. Sometimes we lie without really even intending to. This can happen easily when we aren't totally present with our speech. We aren't even aware or have never taken the time to consider the accuracy of our statements. So much of what we believe is based on information that we have taken on unconsciously. We all hold in our minds beliefs that we have simply adopted as truths. without questioning their validity. There are many examples. One that comes to mind is the belief that having only one child is irresponsible. Without knowing it, I used to hold the belief that only children, single children, are at risk for developing social problems, and therefore I needed to have more than one child. I continued to experience guilt, shame, and fear, especially each time someone asked me when we were planning on having our second child. Button pushers. The problem was my head and my heart couldn't agree, and I was in a state of cognitive dissonance. I knew in my heart that I didn't need to have another child, especially not from a place of guilt or fear. But my head continued to perpetuate this very fear-based story. One day it occurred to me that I needed to look deeper into the story. I got into my computer and did a few hours of research on the topic. The conclusion that I came to was that only children are, in fact, statistically no more likely to develop social problems than a child with siblings. Interesting. Just like that, my fear-based story evaporated, and peace about the topic was restored. The problem with these types of lies is that they can be hard to detect. One way that I've gotten around this problem is to recruit the help of my family, specifically my husband. Trent has a knack for calling me out on inaccuracies of my speech. It is one of his gifts, and it used to push my buttons. Now I am more able to receive the gift of his need for accuracy, and in fact, we have turned it into a little game. We call it Mythbusters. When one of us, it goes both ways now, makes a statement that isn't entirely accurate, we call out Mythbusters and go running to the nearest computer to Google whatever statement we are calling into question. Instead of feeling inadequate, humiliated, or ashamed, I find that I'm grateful for the opportunity to refine my speech and my beliefs to an even greater state of integrity. Now, I'm very aware that one shouldn't believe all of what one reads on the internet. It is the process that is important here. It's the willingness to call into awareness old beliefs that you are holding on to and embracing the opportunity to let them go. So I think it's really funny. I haven't read this in a while, and I had forgotten about this Mythbusters thing. And in the previous episode, I talked about how Perry and Kefren and I have developed a similar accountability practice at home. We don't say Mythbusters, but we do call each other out. So I think it's hilarious. I guess I've been doing that a long time. Number 4, lying because I'm trying to deceive myself or another. As a society, I would argue that these types of lies are ones that we are less tolerant about. These tend to be the lies that we find harder to forgive. Things like cheating, stealing, and outright lying about what happened, where you were, who you were with. These are all types of lies that, when told, carry a great deal of shame and guilt. And when these feelings of shame and guilt come bubbling up, we tend to layer them with yet another set of lies, until we completely lose sight of the truth of who we are. These lies are dangerous. Not only do they have the ability to hurt others, but they present the greatest threat to our integrity. If you have told lies of this nature in the past, then the first step is to let them go. Forgive yourself, move on. You need to make a conscious choice to leave them in the past. These types of lies are some of the skeletons that lie in our closet. Earlier in the course, we talked about the need to address some of these skeletons. Remember that we are not dragging them into the light to relive them in a painful way. We are not doing this to perpetuate our feelings of blame or judgment towards ourselves or others. We are doing this to shine light on the dark, to love even these dark parts of ourselves, and to release our feelings of blame and judgment. We are standing in the here and now and being accountable for our actions. Perhaps you will feel like you need to make amends for some of these past behaviors. Perhaps not. How you come to a place of releasing yourself from these negative feelings and return to holding yourself in a state of grace is up to you. Check in with your heart. It knows exactly what you need to do. Remember, there is no part of you that isn't worth loving. So I don't actually have a lot to add or say today. I rewatched episode 11 recently. I filmed it a few days ago. And now I'm kind of laughing at how I've already kind of spoken to a lot of what I wrote here. So like I said, it seems like I've been kind of working on this integrity of speech the whole time, even though I had lost track of the conscious awareness of it. I just actually got off a phone call today with a life coach from Germany, and we were discussing platforms. And he pointed me towards some new resources that I'm going to be looking at or diving into. But really, it was about this truth that the outside world truly is just a mirror of what's happening on the inside. And so that those thought forms, what we're telling ourselves, like this sort of thing, like how the thoughts create your words, create your reality, like that's so infinitely true. You know, your thoughts can be liars. And that doesn't make you a liar. You're the witness, you're the watcher, you're the one that, you're the container for those thoughts, and you don't have to believe them. There's a lot of liar thoughts up there for various reasons. So I just think that's interesting synchronicity that we were kind of just talking about this a couple hours ago. And now I'm making a video about lying and voices in your head and thoughts. So thanks for joining in today. We'll see you tomorrow.